Yeah, what up, homies? I thought I would just do another video with this folder. I'm still trying to think up of a name. Haven't really come up with anything, but I thought Pikkoku, like a ku, which is a viper, right? But I don't know. The names naturally come by themselves. That's what I've found, so it's better not to think about it too much. Whatever it is going to be what it is. And for now, for a while, I've been just calling it the big folding knife. So, BFK is not so bad, you know? Just kind of break it down, whatever comes naturally. So I thought, I got some logs here. And I figured, why not just kind of do like a half fire prep, carve some wood, and then we can all see together just how nice it is at that. One thing that I do have to say, oh shit, there isn't a lot of sun over there, is there? Let's get some of that sunlight over there. Might be a little bit easier. Pretty difficult here, huh? There we go. So, yeah, let's just chop some wood, cut some stuff. So, there's like these... This is a design I would like to focus on. Alright, this big folder. It's really, really cool. So far, it's replaced all of my knives. I used to carry a Bowie knife. I like it because it's like an axe and a Skinner at the same time. It carves very well. The only addition that I want to make, right, is a swivel pocket clip. So I don't know if you can see that. So it's a pocket clip that lines up on the spine, and then it also acts a little bit like a pommel, and then you can swivel it left or right depending on which pocket, which side of your body you want to put it in. Because there's a curvature of this knife is actually very much like a human butt. You see the curvature of the handle? So if you have it handle out inside the waistband, it conforms perfectly with your ass. You can actually tuck it in much better. So because of that shape, you totally forget that you're carrying it. It's like, my rule is I don't go over 600 grams, 600 grams is a lot for a knife, but the funny thing with this one, it's almost like you could go over 600 grams because when you're carrying it, it conforms to that part of your body so well, your butt. So it's almost like because it conforms so well, you don't feel it being there. And then I'm not even wearing a belt, and it's like I don't even notice that it's in my back pocket or inside the waistband. So it could be a little heavier. Whereas other knives that are heavier, you notice immediately. So I was thinking maybe we chop a little bit. So here's a kind of really neat thing with the chopping stuff. You see how much clearance you have for your fingers? It's quite difficult to impact. And you can also have them pretty safe, so you see there's kind of a really natural kind of carpenter's comfort here to doing this. You see how the clearance is so good. It's just a very, this peculiar shape actually lends itself to be pretty darn good for this stuff. So you see, we've already split up. Oops. It's easy to aim, too, right? It's easy to aim. Oops. That wasn't a very good aim. But it's easier to aim than a lot of other knives. So you see how we're already basically just like 30 seconds away from making a fire here. With that, I'm not going to make a fire in here. It was just more of like a... So let's see. What do we have now? Do we need to go in, zoom in? Let's see. I'm thinking, get some details here. there's like, oh, where's the, here it is. Okay, let's stay here then. That's good. I don't know why I can never fucking move like I can never touch anything without a bunch of shit falling on the fucking floor. Alright, so I haven't sharpened this knife since I finished it. I put a 2000 grit diamond stone edge. It's an 80 CR V2 steel, which is fantastic steel. Incredible for wood, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I've got a poor technique here because this is moving around. I need to find a spot where it doesn't wobble. Ow! Oh, now I see where I've been getting those injuries. So, oops. See, that's one of the most dangerous and annoying things ever, is just not having like a real proper cutting block with a flat base. Because it wobbles and stuff, and it's like you can't apply all the force properly. But as you can see, very comfortably... Oh shit, I just can't fucking get this wobble out of this fucking thing. There you go. That was pretty decent. But the wobble on this log makes this incredibly annoying. Like, very fucking, like, it's just infuriating. I don't usually do this on this. I usually do it against like a solid wall or a tree or something. But this is like a whole other... This is very difficult too. It's too high for me. So maybe... It's always 10 times... I don't know why things are always so much more difficult on camera. So here you go. Oops. See, the wobble fucks it all up. That's why it's so important to have a really solid base. But it's quite difficult to have like a solid chopping block base, you know? God damn. As soon as it starts to wobble, you can't cut in a straight fucking line. I mean, I don't know if it's the ground. Oops. Just wanted to fucking film this video, but... There's like no hope. Alright, let's go. Much better, I think. It's still wobbling in one direction, but... Yeah, not bad, huh? The phone is so close to my blade. I gotta be like careful here. I don't want to smash my fucking phone. It's alright, you know. You can do a lot better, quite easily. with a lot of this fire making stuff, it really comes down to picking the right log and the right, you know, you want a flat, long grain, no knots, you know, as your fire starter. So we know that this works pretty good. See, like this type of long straight grain, this is like what you need for your tinder, right? You're looking for a log like this. You can baton through this with like a $5 folding knife. You can baton through it with like a broken blade shiv. This stuff cuts right through. You don't risk breaking your knives on this stuff. You just gotta cut your firewood between all the knots, right? So just cut the knots out and then you have a bunch of perfect firewood. So I just need to move the camera back a little bit because it would really ruin my day if I smack it with the knife. So here we go. So we'll go from this side. I should have, yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Something really sharp down here. I'll save that for another video. You know, it's not bad, like, at all. Gotta be careful leaving knife points sticking out of fixed objects. Always have it like this on the inside, but never have points sticking out, especially from a vise. Never leave a knife in a vise. Never walk away from a knife that's in a vise that you're working on. It could seriously, seriously harm somebody that's not aware. They're just walking by, moving around your table, and there's a little tiny little blade sticking out. Hardened steel, just sharpened. You're just doing a little polishing work, maybe on the handle or something. You need the vise, and boop. So there it is, boys and girls, I guess. This is pretty good. What do you think? I think it's pretty good. So the whole point of this knife is really like what I want to try and do is I'm thinking in terms of like early Cold War 1950s. You know this, what the fuck is the name of this long-term oil grease they store guns in? Not fucking Vaseline, what was it called? The whatever, you know, this kind of, I'm thinking of like these green military army wooden boxes, you know, that you have PKMs in, you know, straight from the factory. I'm thinking sheet metal. I'm thinking kind of like this heavy duty sheet metal, utilitarian, you know, mass production, high quality folding axe knife, Skinner survival blade, you know? Because, I mean, right here, like, this is, you know, it's not bad. We saw it just now do this, you know, this whittling work. You know, I mean, in a way, it was sort of an ideal log, an ideal piece of wood for fire making, but, you know, that's how you pick your firewood. And there's always going to be a good section of wood between a bunch of knots, so, you know, if you're batoning through knots, that's like you being an idiot in the first place, because you're never really going to be in a situation, I don't think, where you're going to really have to be chopping through knots anyway, because it just means you don't know how to select your wood. And if you are chopping through knots, then you probably have better machines, right? Better tools. I don't know. It's just build the knife so that it can handle being chopped through knots, but then like just don't chop through knots. You know, because you're gonna lend that knife to a friend who doesn't know any better, and they're gonna be there for 20 minutes trying to get there, you know, with a 2-meter long pole, smashing the rear end of your knife, trying to get through that fucking log, you know? And it's like, oh, and you go over there and you tell them, oh wow, what the fuck are you doing? Don't do that, it's gonna break. And it's like, well, what do you mean it'll break? And, you know, because they're like, this is like a heavy duty, you know, indestructible fucking knife. And it's like, yeah, sure, but you're swinging like a 2-meter long branch on the spine, and the blade is stuck in a fucking knot, and it's not going anywhere. You know, it's like, it's like you're really thankful the knife lasted that long and that far. I've had a few of my early Bowie knives that I've made when I was very young. I have seen people just grab them and do some of the most wild fucking shit. Luckily they're okay, the knives, but I don't think they would have been able to handle that kind of stress for so super long. They're not, you know. Hope I got all, yeah, I think I got all that on camera. So that's the big folding knife, right? Actually, I'm going to chop off just a little bit of this, and then we're going to compare it to the legendary scalpel. So these are a bit more intense to make now, not gonna lie. These two knives pair with each other very, very well, I think. Ooh. I'm getting so many fucking splinters jammed into my thumb every time, because I've chopped on this top of this log for so long. All this stuff in the corners is sticking out. This is all stabbing me in the thumb every time I smack into it. You know, I didn't think, but I could probably just use the anvil instead of the log. Yeah. It's pretty hard to beat the scalpel, though, but it's close. The scalpel is still a lot faster. It's the same type of cutting performance, it's just the scalpel is just so thin, you see. It's just so thin, but I think, you know, if you have some very hard, larger woods, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, actually, what would happen, but yeah, it's hard to beat the scalpel when it comes to sort of very delicate work, but you know, if you actually compare the two, you could argue that the quality of this is actually better than the quality of this one. Like if you look at these two, this one's much more dense, much more fine, much more curly, because you can, than the scalpel one. But then the scalpel one, I was going real fast. It has like a different cutting, right? It's got a thinner edge, so you can do the curls very easily, but you could also do very deep cuts quite easily. So it's a different type of curl, for sure. But yeah, it's just, the scalpel is just one of those knives that sort of performs above its weight class. And I think, I'm not sure how to categorize this. Does it perform in its weight class? But I don't think there's too many folding knives that weigh like 460 grams. Hold on, I don't remember how much this one weighed. I think it was 500 and something. And we gotta put it on camera, and I'm saying, okay, bitch. Oh, wrong side. Is it in grams? No. 475 grams. I guess you can't see that there. 474. So, I'm saying 600 is max. This is not heavy. 474 for an everyday carry, heavy duty, axe capable, Skinner profile, it's not bad for a piece of metal like this. 475 grams. Yeah, it's on the heavy side, but it's not on the, it's like, I would say, once you breach that 400 gram mark, that's when the weight starts to begin to be noticeable. But under 400 grams, you can get away with kitchen knives at 400 grams. And below, I mean. This is a bit, and another interesting thing too is that when you look at this blade, all that weight is here. This is, all hollow and stuff. So when you, in terms of leverage, what makes an axe, it's not really the weight, it's the leverage, it's where the weight is at. And here, the weight is at the front. The weight is all there. You can hear that mass impacting it sounds like an axe and it cuts like an axe. And that's because it's the fucking leverage. All the weight is here. That's the balance point, right? And the beauty of that being the balance point is, I'm just gonna, do some nice little, see, you can hold the blade here and it doesn't feel like it's falling out of your hand because the balance is there. You see? That's like literally where the balance is. So because you have that axe-like balance, the usability of this knife goes up tremendously because once you choke up, your balance is exactly where you would want it to be on a profile like this knife. You can also, because your finger chokes up pretty low there, you don't get that risk of twisting so much when you're carving. So you got a lot of control. Right? The problem with tall blades like this is if your handle is too narrow and you got, it starts here, it's going to want to twist all over you. But here, it doesn't matter how tall that blade is because you got full leverage on where that blade is being twisted to, And you see that point control like this, It's very easy to just go and cut through stuff. It's very easy to, just like that. There's also, what's also relatively interesting too, is that this kind of shape lends it to be very good for underhand throwing, right? It actually throws extraordinarily easily. So that's like a real, oops. Okay, I've dropped it maybe 2 or 3 times. Like I said, things are different on camera, but I've thrown it maybe 40 times. and it's like 90% success rate. You can just do it casually. It's pretty dope. So again, this is the first one. This is just the prototype, so I don't want to throw it too much. An interesting thing about the grind too is that it starts off as a deep hollow here, but this is flat. So it transitions automatically from a hollow to a flat at the tip. So you get a really chonky, you know, very beefy tip, right? So, I don't know, it's kind of got all the best things of all the things I've ever wanted out of anything when it comes to a knife. I mean, I could actually just quickly pause this video and go and get what this is replacing. How do I pause this? I don't want to end the video, I really don't. Fuck, I'll just go and get it without. I don't know why they have to have all these fucking symbols. Why it can't just say in English what the buttons do. So, you know, this is what's replacing what here, boys. Let's go and get that scale again. This is replacing this, okay? Now, yeah, I have, you know, a little bit of injuries from smashing around, you know, with this hitting here because there's no guard. But you do still have an enormous amount of protection that you don't have on regular designs. So, you know, I can smash it in like that. Oops. Goddamn fucking tripods and shit like that. So you can always, you know, that hurts, but it's doable. So that's what it replaced. You know, sure, you got longer leverage. You know, you got your knuckle protector, but you know, having this under your shirt and going around and stuff, it's you know, it's not quite as convenient as just tucking this in your pocket, right? Because this I can just have in my butt pocket, and it's completely streamlined, and you don't notice shit, right? This, you have to carry it in like only one way, which is on your back, under a shirt. So let's... And this is not as nice to skin with as the other one. 629. With the sheath, 671. So, 761. So let's just round them both to... So there's about 200 grams difference between these two packages, right? And as soon as we take the sheath away, we lose over 100 grams. $474, $629. But all that mass on this one, it balances here. So if you're fencing, oops, this is a pretty decent fencing knife, right? It doesn't chop nearly as... It chops, it's got the chopping power in it. It's a bit more awkward because it's a straight handle. You see how I compared to this. That's the same angle as the other one. I have to go down here. And it feels a little scarier, to be honest. So you kind of have to, on the side. So yeah, I think, you know, when it's just better in every single way. Yeah, you might lose out on a couple things, but at the end of the day, like, the key thing is, do you have it on you all the time? That's the key thing. Can you have it on you at all times? Is it something that you can sneak into anywhere you want easily, bend over, not like expose anything when you're, maneuvering around and stuff like that? Is it something that you can just grab and go and not have to worry, oh, am I missing some part of it? Where's the sheath? Is it something, And what I'd love to see is, I think the third one I'll make, because the second one I'm making now, and it's not going to be that, but the third one will be like I'm going to have that military, Vietnam green lacquer metal paint on it, and trying to like replicate sort of that 20th century sheet metal military hardware as much as I can. So, to make it like super, super cool. I'm just talking with a leatherworking friend about, some kind of pouch just for delivery, a little home for it, I won't be doing the wooden boxes for all of them, but it would be cool to have like a run where there's like one or even a few. Imagine like 5 in a wooden green box, like a military surplus green box or whatever those wooden boxes, those crates. That's what I mean to say. That you ship machine guns in. You can see, like, I could totally see, like 4 or 5 of these lined up next to each other in that crate. It would look so cool, man. But again, like, I could do one with all this titanium and Damascus and all this gay shit, but like right now, I'm not all about that bling. I want, it's like, for me, it's, if you're gonna pay a lot of money for something, it's gotta first pay for a knife, right? So I'm focusing on just the build strength. I'm focusing on like honing in on the things that I like. There isn't anything I dislike about this. Really, there's only one improvement that I want to make, and that's the pocket clip that we saw earlier, right? Which is a combination of a lanyard, loop, and a swivel clip. You can line it up with the spine, right? And then you can move it left to right. So, heavy duty. And again, the whole idea is like a heavy duty, long-term Cosmoline box, crate, military freaking kind of thing, right? It's like a survival folding tool for your camp, your military camp stuff, right? So you have like 1 or 2 issued for every tent or every freaking, I don't know how it works in different militaries, but in the Finnish army, we just, you have like the tents, and each team, each platoon has like their own system for how the tools and the majoitusalue. I don't know what that translation is in English, but like your these designated sleeping home zones that you would have like in the forest during your guerrilla, stuff, where you sleep for the night, and where your your accommodation zone, right? Oh, so really not all that different in a lot of ways, right? You see how it's more difficult to make the blade stick once the top surface is, but you see how much reach I have, and so where the blade contacts the wood and where my handle is very, very much the same as a hatchet. So it's like holding the hatchet right here. It's really very, very much the same as holding it up here. You have a very similar weight distribution. In fact, I think there's even more weight distribution here at the top than over here. Not in terms of mass, but in terms of like in terms of balance, because you have a lot more metal here on the shaft. So let's see. Yeah, like right here. It's like right here. So quite interesting. It's a folding knife hatchet, as Mall Ninja as it sounds. It's actually like a legit, fully functional design that actually fully works as intended, and you know, I think it really outperforms. Now my mission, of course, is just to make, is to literally just make more of them, and to make them beefier and more sophisticated, and then work my way into developing like the components to more standardized dimensions where, you know, there's less forging involved, because everything's forged except actually the blade is not forged, but everything here is forged. This is like everything is freaking forged. The washers are not forged, they're stainless, but the spring, the lock, these components, the pins, you can see there's stainless mini pins in there. This is forged. So there's a lot of forging involved, and I noticed as I get more and more skilled with knife making, I realize that like the more knife making I do, the less and less bladesmithing I do, because the grinders are just so clean. And you got to be careful how you use forging. So what I've noticed now is, like with a lot of forging, if you have flat stock, then all you really need to do is forge the tang, forge the tip. That's it. You don't even need to touch the blade. So the cold forging is more important for me. But yeah, so I like to keep it custom, fully handcrafted for now, and then use the funds, you know, make money to develop the machinery around this design so that it's a bit more convenient to produce, because it's like 12 high heats. You got to have the forge super, super hot to bend and flatten the tube into this 90-degree curve. It's not a quick bend. You got to go back and forth to the forge countless fucking times. It is extraordinarily difficult to, especially with this stainless. The thicker the metal, the easier in some ways, because it retains heat for so long. So, but there it is, lads. You saw, quite effective. It's obviously very good. You know, it's a very handy tool. I'm constantly fiddling around with it like this. You can very easily, you know, so something supernatural about it. So I'll be making more. Keep your eyes peeled. The next one is being made. And I guess whoever is willing to pay the most for it is the one who's gonna get it. See you later.